I'm recording now.
All right.
I'm Heiner Benking, and we are doing a rehearsal, a short test of an interview we do for the Global Challenges collaboration. Oh, I didn't press recording. Sorry, I have to do it again. Hello, I'm Heiner Benking in Berlin. We are doing here an interview for a discussion in the Global Challenges collaboration community since some years, and we want to have it recorded and widely spread. I'm here with my interviewer. Take it on. Sadiya, you are muted. Hello, I'm Heiner Benking in Berlin. We are doing here a rehearsal, a pre-recorded session for the Global Challenges collaboration. It's a group which is since many years meeting and discussing issues of global relevance around media, around computers, around ethics and culture. Um, we have done with Sadiya 1.5 years ago already an interview at the climate summit in Dubai. And so I asked her if she has some questions for me to see what has been going on since then. Over to you.
Thanks very much for the highlight, Haina. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the part of the world. Just like Haina mentioned, my name is Sadiya Adadu, and I'm from Nigeria. I am a civil structure engineer and also passionate about the environment and community empowerment. We're here to have a few minutes or some hour conversation, an in-depth conversation with Heiner Benking from Berlin. And first of all, I would love to reintroduce my guests, Heiner. So please, can you go on and give us a little, kindly introduce yourself, where you're from, and what sparked your passion for Earth Day and the environment.
Well, I'm into environmental affairs all my professional life. I studied it and made my diploma in 74 on ecology, surveying, any kind of astronomy, geology, and whatever issues. And I'm here to not redo our interview we did 1.5 years ago, but really update on what has been happening since then and why we are here at the beginning of spring and celebrating Earth Day.
Well, interesting. Moving forward, I want to know how did your involvement in United Nations activities and the global environmental issues begin?
Well, I was with United Nations Development Program doing town and state planning and having the background to really do not just mapping and town and state futures, but really looking into all the issues, all the sectors. And so what was happening to me was that I later was in an office of United Nations Environmental Program, and there we had to do harmonization of environmental measurement as part of Earthwatch. And there I was very, very deep into not just what the words are and the data are and what they mean, but how to bring them together. And so the real kickoff happened to me when we were planning the International Space Year, which was a preparatory meeting for the Rio 92 Earth Summit for environment and development. So you see a very broad topic. And I was with this International Space Year having with all the remote sensing um, airplane and satellite surveys, the real need to look into Earth as a whole. And out of that, I flew in late 91, 92, twice to California, to Pasadena, because that was the end of this long journey from Australia, Canberra, to Singapore, to Japan, to Munich, to Boulder, and then to Pasadena. And there we had seen before through Sputnik that the Earth can be seen from outside, having an extra perspective. And when I arrived in Pasadena, there was much discussions. It was a time before the wall had come down about about Earth from far away. So the Americans had the first picture from the solar system, and there was a Carl Sagan who had presented a documentation about what they have seen with this satellite from far away. And he said the Earth is a pale blue dot because the camera was so far away that the whole Earth was just one pixel. It was not really a whole globe or any kind of star. It was just the size of one point, and that was pale and blue. So
Wow.
I was really fascinated about that. And in that time, there was the discussion of seeing from a remote perspective and from an internal perspective, like the SDGs and the inner development goals, that we need also outer development goals.
Mm.
And so I was really fascinating when I heard that there was um, a man in a preacher, I must say. He was really a journalist. He was a very special man. His name was John McConnell, who had written and talked about a star of hope. And he said, we have to really celebrate the unity and the diversity and the human dimensions of it. And he said there should be in 1969, I think he proposed it, there should be an Earth Day, a day where we celebrate Earth, Earth as a whole. And this as Earth as a whole is a very important concept. And there have been many films now about it with the Earth Society Foundation. But I must tell you, John McConnell's idea to do it on equinox, which is 20th of March for the Northern Hemisphere and 20th of September, or about, it's astronomics, and so it's not to our human calendar, uh, for the Southern Hemisphere, that he said we should have a day just for for the whole Earth. And he was with Margaret Mead, a very well-known philosopher and anthropologist. And he convinced, through Robert Mueller, Undersecretary General of the United Nations, the Secretary General UTANT. And so they have been ringing something called a peace bell. I have to look now here at the dates. You see the Japanese have given in remembrance of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the atomic bomb, in
Well, well, not
1954.
well, Heiner, not to cut you short, diving or reflecting on the Earth Day, many people don't really know about Equinox Day, Equinox Day, right? So, could you explain what is it and how it connects with the first Earth Day?
Yes, definitely. Um, the there is something when it goes through the seasons, from winter to spring to summer to autumn, and this equinox is the day-night equality. So when it is very clear that the winter is over and spring is beginning. And that is differently on the northern hemisphere and on the southern hemisphere. And that's why this anthropologist and this journalist state we have to celebrate like the Japanese do for spring. That's why I have the spring cherry tree, and I'm just flying a little bit in it, doing a special kind of interview, and
Mm,
do it also with Narus, with the people from Persia,
mm,
or all the other cultures, all the indigenous people have spring.
mm.
It is very important for them. And autumn, when they have done their harvesting, is also very important. And so this celebration, simultaneously at the same minute in all these locations, is very, very central, that it is not one day like we have now the Earth Day, actually coming on the day after Easter Monday, but really an equinox original Earth Day. And
Mm.
that is what we have been celebrating here 3 weeks ago here in Berlin.
Well, fantastic. Why do you think the symbolism of balance on Equinox Day is important when we talk about generally peace and the environment?
Oh, this is really not just unity in diversity, but also justice and balance, and looking into a sign of hope. John
Mm,
McConnell called it the star of hope, and to really taking on a remote extra position to see with extra eyes. Like I know from some traditions, I think it was a Sufi master saying, if you want to solve a problem, take your own viewpoint out. And so this idea of negotiating and understanding the other perspectives, the other position, and the shared frames of references is very, very central. So there is a deep sagacious knowledge and there is a modern scientific knowledge, and all has to come together.
wow, that's very fantastic. So, do you feel today's in today's climate movements and peace still reflect the original balance between science, spirituality, and activism that days like the equinox aim to capture?
Yes, I think a modern Earth Day, like it is celebrated after Easter, is something which is focusing only on environment. And it was starting later in San Francisco as an environmental teach-in. So there was some split between the original broader vision and the original vision John McConnell had in '69. And we are doing it with this Japanese peace bell to have these bells all over the globe dedicated from the Japanese to really celebrate the cherry blossom. And I have to come now a little bit back to what I just said. When this peace bell as a synchronous sign was introduced in '54 by giving it to the UN as a present in remembrance of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this idea to dedicate this uh, ceremony with a tea ceremony in all UN locations which have such a bell, which is New York, Geneva, Vienna, and also in a public park in Berlin. And this one was dedicated even before the wall had come down in 1989 in a people's environment. It is a people's park, a beautiful park, and where we have done some documentations. And all this you can see on the websites of the Berlin Peace Bell and the Vienna and New York Peace Bell. So I had this opportunity to really learn in my profession as a consultant to step a little bit out of the picture or out of the box thinking, we call it, and see what is possible when the wall had come down, that we can see in all this Earth Summit preparations, like all the data scientists people have been meeting in late '91, '92, before Rio, to really think all these languages and all these cultures together. So this was my opportunity to really not just say, I have individual goals, we have normal sustainability goals, we also have the broader goals. And that led us to the celebration of Earth Day for the 55th time 3 weeks ago here in Berlin, celebrating all the seasons and the unity in the diversity of all the cultures we have on the planets.
Wow. This is a very historic moment. And moving forward, and as a futurist, an activist, also a mover who has a long term experience in vast majority of topics, how has the meaning of or impact of Earth Day changed over the years from when you first encountered it to now?
Excuse me, I didn't get you acoustically.
Yeah, so how has the meaning or impact of Earth Day changed over the years from the first time you encountered it to now?
Well, you see, when we just focus on one segment or one goal, um, then we lose out the interconnectedness. And the Earth and the body is a multimodal, very diverse and very special object to study. And so the meaning was really started to be discussed in the Rio preparations, that the commissions being founded then were on sustainability, on biodiversity and desertification. And so a lot of effort has been going on to start climate summit or biodiversity summits or desertification summits or um, nature destruction and um, environmental catastrophe studies to really focus on one sector and not like the meta goals in the SDGs, SDG 16 and 17, ask for the connections and to look in um, goal 16 into peace and the global commons, and in goal 17 on wisely going to win-win-win situation to really show the opportunity to address one goal, but also at the same time addressing other goals, so that in general, when we draw the bottom line, we can come to a solution which is much, much more, uh, and it is much, much more than making the sum of individual goals, because this synergy helps us, and through this harmonization, helps us to really have much smarter and much more far-reaching positive results.
Fantastic. Before we bring an end to our session, to the session in general, what was the lesson you've learned from decades of advocacy that you think you should pass on to the younger generation?
That we need to look inside at the problematic and from outside to really not miss one aspect or one perspective and come to a coexistence of the positions and perspectives and a realization of the frames of references, because we have so much fighting that everybody thinks about his thing and forgetting that we are part of a smaller and bigger family and humanity. So this thinking broad and peaceful to go into a world beyond wars, and having experienced this Berlin Wall coming down, and what are these walls in our minds and in our thinking and fighting, is something like a big learning for me, that all these separated efforts we have on the planet, we have so many UN organizations, we have so many nations, we have so many civil society and NGO groups, that they need to come together and not have the right solution or another model of Earth, but bring the worlds together. And working with young people, I'm with a youth group where young people learn to be media people. They learn how to be filmmakers, and they, as in vocational fields, do or let's say walk the talk, bring together any idea which is good, like solar, like how to make an interview, how to build community, how to learn how complex and perplexing the thing is, that all this gave me rise to work in an Earthbeat Use for Planet method, where we create very different creative velos. That's let's say it's a rickshaw, three-wheel bicycle, where we go and show films, make interviews, go to the villages, and really build up from the bottom. And I hope that with youth, with the workshops we are doing, we can come to solutions that they realize that the truth or the whole is something we have to talk about, we have to negotiate. And that means peacemaking. And peacemaking begins in myself, in the family, in the nation, on the planet, hopefully. And this learning and this remembering why there was a world war, why it is necessary to be one with culture, with Earth community, and not fight from one nation to the next and make uh, just climate negotiations, just looking into environment and not the social fabric, not health, not soil, not water, getting away from the fragmented view to the awe of understanding it is whole. And this wholeness has to be embodied. And that's what we are doing with youth in workshops. And that's what I hope to do next month at the Dubai Design Futures Conference, preparing the World Futures Conferences like they are every year in Abu Dhabi. So anyway, a lot of learning, a never-ending story. I have no final solution and not the real and only one. But as I have met you in Dubai 1.5 years ago, and it was such an interesting interview to show my professional career, let's look back and look into the positive, peaceful futures, and hopefully together with youth and elders and world community, building and walking the talk.
Wow. Before, let's say, our final question, speaking on youth that you just highlighted, with your activities and engagement with the Creative Velo, the Earth Beats, Youth for Planet, and everything in between youth engagement, what do you think Earth Day should represent to the next generation of activists and young change makers?
Excuse me, I didn't get your question correctly. Can you
Yeah,
repeat, please?
yeah, perfect. So, what do you think Earth Day should represent to the next generation of activists and leaders? Speaking on your engagement with Creative Velo, Youth for Planet, and the Earth Beats, generally your engagement with youth, the younger generation.
Well, that we bring the sectors together and the people together. We speak about intersectorial strategic dilemmas, and that there's a need for multi-track diplomacy, that we not just have one viewpoint and the other viewpoint, but really have dialogue, other forms of negotiations, another form of diplomacy with all the stakeholders in a multimodal format, that we are going beyond this sweet isolation and our academic isolation, that the youth in school learn the intricate web of life and to be careful and caring with all living things. So it has to do with compassion, building compassion, and building consciousness and discussing what might consciousness be and how much more it is than just being aware, but to share it and to come to global commons.
Wow, fantastic. So, in the end, do you have any important or any significant thing that you want to add up, that you want to share with the world to know?
Well, I think we should discuss it on next Tuesday on the international, well established with broad, powerful stakeholders, communities, NGOs. We should discuss that we need an Earth Day for the environment, for health, for justice, for peace, for water and oceans, and that we maybe bring this separation uh, back to unity, that we really understand that the original intentions by all these people, meaning good, is that we have to reflect and see what I see with my eyes or what I feel from the inside and how it looks from different perspectives when I see the whole um, universe and the whole cosmos, and how to bring these words and ways how we present it through media, through science systems, and the natural systems and the natural academic fields and disciplines like in universities or academies, that we have to bring it together. And that is the needed mind shift change. I think we have to be aware of that when we have rule set resets, we are aware that people have certain interests. And so it's very much important that the public get educated, like what we said in Dubai, the COP conference for climate is not COP for the parties and for the planet and the people only, but all together. So it has to do with how the world is governed and how we maintain peace and how we avoid conflict and really come to mediation and a new form of civil society agoras, like Delphi games, not just bodily Olympic games. And to bring that all together, I think for that I need a couple of more lives. But this is my status where I am now, struggling. Are you frozen?
I had a network band. I was out of network bandwidth. So right now, maybe you give your last opening, your closing speech.
Okay, my last message is let's all come together and design positive futures, and hopefully we see each other again in just 4 or 5 weeks.
Thank you very much. That's very beautiful and educative um speech from Heiner Benking from Berlin, Germany. And I hope it leaves a lasting impact in our hearts and engagement with the world. And in short, happy Earth Day to each and every one of us. Yeah, so peace.
So it was a nice exercise to fly around like a ghost and at the same time try the new media and transform
Yeah.
into not just talking and
Mm-hmm.
negotiating, but coping
Yeah.
and surviving, because I think the humanity is not destined to self-destruct. Even when we
Yeah.
see so many dystopic um, visions of the future, we have to make sure we have not a dystopia, but a utopia and an
Mm.
utopia, which is an extra. negotiated, peaceful dancing future. And I hope we can start it already next month.
Yeah, sure. That would be awesome.
So I'm flying away now, and we say bye bye.
All right. But in the Zoom, in the chat room, I saw your friend Sam shared some Zoom link. So, but I don't know. He's
Yes,
asking, did he
uh,
get the time wrong?
let's go now to this room and close this session.
All right. Okay.
Tell
Bye.
him I'm coming.
All right. See you in the next room. Bye.